Did you ever have a crush on that high school teacher? How did it end up? Not me personally, but had a girl openly try to flirt with our teacher. One day she was giggling and jokingly accused him of trying to look down her shirt. Holy shit, did that backfire. He immediately lost his cool and marched her straight up to the office. I cringe at the second-hand embarrassment to this day. He presumably had to. Any suggestion of inappropriate behavior would have to be reported and then monitored by another member of staff. Oh, for sure. I would have done the same thing. That sort of info can come back to haunt them in the future, so he did the right thing. Imagine that student takes a bad road in life, they could use that ad blackmail or some shit sinister. Good for him. It ended up her telling me to focus on my studies after I gave her a love letter, which she returned back. She also circled all the spelling mistakes in red ink and wrote, "See me." It was a very confusing thing. Definitely mixed signals. Graded at a D-, which dropped his grade, but the D was also a heart, so. I had a crush on my middle school science teacher. It turns out she was cheating on her husband with the married gym coach. She married him. A few years later, she left him for another married man. She then dumped him. Later she got with another married man. She took his wife's place as co-owner of the company he was preparing to start with his wife. She is currently married to him. And you still don't see the red flag, do you? I can fix her. Might as well take a shot. Everybody else has. Not me, but a lot of the girls in my high school had a crush on the English teacher. I knew him pretty well since he had been my soccer coach throughout high school and even in middle school. He also coached wrestling and track. He was in his early 30s and in incredible shape, as in he did triathlon shape. One day in class, kinda a low work day, some of the girls wrote "Mr. Blank is sexy" on the dry erase board. He flipped out, just oh hell no, gave us a lecture on why that was inappropriate. Few years after I graduated, he was Teacher of the Year. I respect that he took the time to explain why it was inappropriate. Power dynamics and such are hard to fully grasp when you're a kid and you can't really know what that experience gap is like on the other side. Teaching moment with a helping of covering your own damn ass. As he should have. Good for him. Not me, but we had this gigantic D-bag substitute teacher who came to teach math midway through when our teacher went on maternity leave. He was 22 or so, just out of school himself. There was a rumor that he was sleeping with a very much under 18 girl in the class. I could never confirm if the rumor was true, but a few years after high school the girl and I friend each other on Facebook and she'd married him and had a kid. Not all groomers clip nails. Some of them play ukulele. Sounds like you're on the toxic gossip train. All aboard. Yes, it ended up with me no longer having a crush on them. Same, then found out my 16-year-old son got him as his English teacher. He looked bloated, shorter than I remember, and not cool. Edit, thank you kind strangers for the awards. Honestly, teachers should just be able to fuck any of the students they're attracted to, after a healthy gap of a few years and some time for them to be able to settle into adulthood. Otherwise, what is even the point of getting into the profession? Clearly one of the main draws of it is a safe way for unattractive people without much people skills or social value to meet a lot of people. It's cruel and weirdly prude and puritanical to try to take that away from consenting adults. Unless the teacher and student are different races, in which case that shit is a disgusting abomination and they should both get the death penalty. Sincerely. Mouth-breathing shit-fists, new band name I called it. Girl in my class had a flirtatious relationship with our social science teacher in high school. Immediately after graduation she went up to him and said, "I want you," and he said, "I always told you guys to go after what you want, didn't I?" At least that's what she said happened. But they got married and had 2 kids. Divorced a few years later, but hey, she shot her shot. It was scandalous in our little town, of course. He was like 28, I think. Yeah, that sounds like they were absolutely fooling around while she was a student, and her cover story of "I went up to him immediately after graduation" was to give some plausible deniability to prevent him being fired and or imprisoned. She would frequently embellish things. Most times she told the truth, but every so often we'd be like, "Yeah, that's not quite right." But yeah, it was very obvious to the whole class that they were at least flirting quite heavily. Looking back, I'm mystified that he wasn't disciplined over the whole thing. Didn't even change schools when they linked. Why would he change schools if no one cared? Dog had a rep to uphold. Yes. Our computer class teacher. Everyone had a crush on him, but we all thought there was no way he would ever pay attention to us being so young. He was really kind and always so smooth. One day the principal found him after school hours making out with one of the senior students at the teacher's lounge, and he was fired right on the spot, while the girl was suspended, but they kept it a secret from the rest of the students. The next day they hired some guy who looked like George Costanza to replace him and told us that the previous teacher had to take a trip or something. We found out about what happened from rumors, and I knew for sure that he didn't go on a trip because he worked part-time at my then-boyfriend's school and he said he was still working there. One day a news reporter was outside my school trying to interview parents about what happened. Turns out the girl the teacher was making out with was the daughter of some important business's man, and he wanted to sue the school. The school then had to tell us the truth about what happened, in a very meek way, and asked us not to talk to any media about it. It was a big scandal. I was just crushed knowing I actually could have had a chance with him, haha, silly me. At the teacher's lounge? My God, have a little discretion, man. Yeah, I don't support these things, but he's a huge idiot. My IT teacher was really hot. All the dudes had a crush on her. Nothing happened, I left school and she added me on Facebook. We'd spoken a lot about mental health stuff because I'm autistic and she had an autistic brother. Lot of time to just aimlessly chat in an early 2000s IT class waiting for shit to load. Anyway, a few years later I was in a homeless shelter. There was this total nutbag there who kept getting the shit kicked out of him because he was delusional and would accuse people of shit constantly. He ended up getting kicked out. I went to buy some weed from the dealer all the shelter residents used the same day. He was there, loudly shouting "You don't F with a teacher's surname," and thought to myself, LMAO, I wonder. So I asked him if he had a sister named teacher's first name. Got no response from him, just a weird stare. So I pulled out my phone, brought up Facebook and showed him a photo. "Is this your sister? How do you have photos of my sister on your phone?" and just flipped the fuck out at me. Tried to take a swing, I just moved out of the way and he got dragged off by some other customers. Told his sister the story via Facebook, and her first response was, "What are you doing in a shelter?" She ended up giving me a job for a while to get me on my feet. Whoa, that's a heartwarming story out of the blue. Nice storytelling skill, by the way. Did you take a storytelling class or something? I'm sorry you were homeless at one point. Grade 10 biology teacher. She was really young, must have been fresh out of teacher's college, really bubbly and cheerful, willing to help students, really seemed to care about her work, which was not the norm at my high school. I don't remember her name. I mean, it's been over 25 years and biology was one of the subjects I didn't pursue to completion. Never did anything about it. Dear reader, if you were a petite biology teacher in Scarborough, Ontario in the 90s, and remember boasting about having a playset of Beta Sarah angels to a tall ogreish socially maladjusted student, hit me up. I'd love to buy you a drink and catch up, even if it's just platonic. I thought you were so cool. What a lad, may God help you on your journey. Please like and subscribe for more daily content.